Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Digimon Survive, which is set to release on both the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation consoles later this year. And today we're going to be checking out something extremely special, and that is the fact that we have the very first official gameplay preview for this title. Basically, one of the Japanese official game sites called Game Watch went ahead and posted their first impressions of the game, as they basically got a chance to play a very definitive build of the title, not the full release just yet. Clearly, they're still not done with making the game just yet, but they did certainly get to check it out. So they put out their first impressions in a rather extensively and detailed article that this time around I'm going to go ahead and try to translate as best of my abilities, so you guys can have a better understanding as to what this game is ultimately going to be about, and more importantly, those newcomers to the series who certainly checked out the new combat trailer gameplay that I put up a couple of weeks ago are certainly starting to take notice of this title. So first and foremost, they delve a little bit deeper into the story, and they kind of present it in a first-person perspective as to how the character is basically perceiving the story happening in the first few hours of the game. Their opening statements makes it very clear that choices will dictate your actions and the evolutions of your Digimon as well. They mention that folklore is handed down to certain specific areas in the world, where some beasts are considered to be gods themselves. They ask for specific sacrifices to eventually be spirited away. Boys and girls who come into this world have a very specific job entail. They set foot in a specific shrine where beasts are enshrined, and they search for a very specific companion. Suddenly, a fog rushes in where screams of different kids can be heard throughout the distance, and an eerie mood begins to set in. What emerges out of said fog is an unknown set of monsters look completely different from normal creatures. Almost in an instant, a landslide happens and everything caves in. What's left in the aftermath is both boys and girls set to fend off for themselves to survive by bonding with these monsters. So basically, that intro right there gives you a pretty good idea that this game is not messing around. They are certainly taking a more adult look at the Digimon series in general. I think it mostly has been kind of like Pokemon in the past, and a very friendly, kiddish approach, where this game is trying to make some real atonements, trying to set in a darker mood, a more adult oriented perspective, while still dealing with kids and monsters and monster taming in general. That's not changing, but they're certainly trying to drive in some more different motifs that will give people a different perspective for this franchise, hopefully going forward. Moving over to something that they are calling game overview, they mentioned that the text adventure is a big part of it, and there's two specific sections here. First and foremost, they mentioned that text adventure and bond dramas, these are specifically like social links, if you will, from like Persona fans would know exactly what that means. They mentioned that both boys and girls and monsters who basically were caught up in that dangerous situations now basically have their stories unfold. The game progresses by taking in all of the characters and examining different perspectives as different objects are placed all over the world in different places with specific backgrounds. Choices may appear in the middle of a conversation as you survey to choose which way you want to go, and the evolution of your partner will change depending on the choices that you make. They also do mention that the game is kind of sectioned off into two specific areas: the free action area and the exploration action area. So you do have the choice to kind of like explore around a little bit before you presumably get into kind of like combat scenarios, if you will. Then there, of course, are the dialogue sequences as well. In the free actions, they mentioned that there's a number of times you can actually make decisions or acts. They're basically limited based on time, as time elapses as you select a new destination from the entire map or by moving. By executing conversations, different events can occur in a specific destination in each one of the maps. You can choose to talk to friends, have free battles, choose to explore some more, or go to different places in a specific area. In free battles, you can level up and join wild monsters, where hidden items can be obtained by examining various places in a specific location. So what they are doing here is basically limiting the amount of things that you can do so you don't exhaust all your options. Basically, this is for replayability. So you can choose to have different, like, I don't know, you can befriend someone in this run, and then in the next run, when you start the game again, you can befriend them, you know, the other character as well. This is most likely due to that. They don't want to kind of like let you just talk to everyone all at the same time, because then you're most likely going to do that, develop those social links, those social bonds with all of the characters, level up and grind as much as possible, and then you're going to be completely overpowered and kind of break the game. They don't want you to do that, so therefore they're going to limit your chances and interactions between big story moments. Then they mentioned that there's an exploratory behavior option, which is just a basically exploration that we mentioned before, where you are searching in a specific area where incidents can occur according to a specific scenario. The story progresses by moving into the map, exploring an area, and talking with friends. Occasionally, the enemies will attack you and a battle sequence will begin. You have to repel the attacking monsters, but you also have a little bit of a time to prepare for each one of those encounters as well, where win is a battle condition. Leveling up in free battle is also an option that gives you exploration with the option to solve incidents that will fall upon you and solve the mysteries in the overworld. So not only are you going to get extra tasks and presumably side quests for you to be doing in this exploratory behavior, like in what you're exploring out in the world, but you're also going to be able to level up. You're going to be able to still level up some of the links, social bonds, if you will, but all of those are again limited, but exploration and free roaming are going to be two separate things in this specific title. Now, moving over to the full explanation that they give when it comes to combat, I think is a little bit more intricate. They mentioned that battle progresses in groups as tactic battles engage, and you make full use of your evolution and skills for each one of the monsters. Before any encounter, you'll have the option to select from 10 monsters to participate in any battle at the beginning. However, and they do mention this in parentheses, the number of 10 can actually be different in specific scenarios, so presumably in some battles it could be less or it could be a little bit more. They mentioned that battles will progress in an active turn-based system. This is basically turn-based battles. And an order of actions is determined by the quickness of each one of the monsters, and each one of the monsters are of course different as well. They mentioned that the distance traveled and the climbing power and even height differences for each one of the monsters will vary. And of course, their attacks and range depends on their skills as well. In addition, they mentioned that the damage amount that your monsters are going to be able to dish out is based off of the compatibility between you and your monster. They also mentioned in parentheses data virus vaccine, which I know has something to do with the lore of Digimon, but I don't quite know what that actually means. I don't think there's like egg hatching here, so I wouldn't necessarily put that past them though. And they do mention that there's of course attributes as well, like fire, water, wind, earth, light, and darkness as well. So elements, if you will also play a role in how well you're going to be able to dish out damage in a specific encounter. They mentioned that monsters can consume SP as they unleash different skills and evolve in a released evolution states in different spots. Evolving can greatly enhance the chances of performance of a monsters in a specific battle, but it also consumes SP continuously during evolution. So what they're saying here is that your Digimon cannot stay evolved the entire time. Basically, as their SP bar drains, you'll eventually revert back to normal, the little baby Digimons, if you will. So, you know, you do have to keep that in mind. Or presumably there is like maybe a battery system where you could just kind of continually gain SP. And they do mention that in the bottom as well. They mentioned that SP can be recovered gradually every turn when the full growth of the stage after unraveling an evolution. This is presumably saying like even after you evolve, you'll still continue to gain SP, but you're going to lose more. They're going to be drained more of SP than they're actually gaining. You can also recover some of it by supporting your friends and talking with your partners or even using items. So of course, this is just a typical gameplay mechanic situation, but again, they don't want you to stay Digivolve the entire time. So you have to kind of choose and pick your spots as to when you want to do that. There is one specific section as well where they mentioned that evolution of Digimons can also be specifically tied to items being used. those items can be obtained through exploration or even battle rewards. So do be aware that not all Digimon evolve alike, and they may even have alternate evolutions based on an item or typical evolution done through actual power-ups. So basically what they're saying here is that, you know, normal Digimon will evolve normally, but some of them can have like item evolutions, or even a same Digimon could evolve one way normally, and then if you use an item, they can evolve in a different way as well. So I think that's part of the show that's been part of like the whole Digimon way in a while. It's not like Pokemon is a little bit different, but they are certainly making mention here that that is also going to be a possibility in this title as well. So those are pretty much all of the key points that they mentioned specifically in this game preview. I'm going to, of course, leave a link in the description below for you guys to check it out for yourselves. Again, it's all in Japanese, so I did, I think, my best translating this as best as I could and the best of my abilities. But of course, there could be mistakes nonetheless, but I certainly tried my best for sure. Of course, there is that combat gameplay that I did put up a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to leave a link in the description for that as well. If you haven't necessarily checked it out, be sure to do so, because I'm certainly excited for this game, and I know a lot of people are as well. If you are brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.